Thinking of all this Far Cry stuff, I never did tell you guys the story of when Drucker sent me to another island, did I?
No, you never actually have.
Oh man, it's a crazy story. Literally life-changing for hundreds of people.
Life-changing? Where was the island anyway?
Klozanka Peninsula.
Kluzanka Peninsula? Literally never heard of that.
For a very good reason.
And what's that?
It doesn't exist anymore.
What do you mean it doesn't exist anymore?
On backlog. Been gone for way too long. On backlog. Got so many games to play, dog. On backlog. Donkey Kong expands my dome. On backlog. Me and Kylo been fucking since dawn. On backlog. Did you know that Kylo wears thongs? On backlog. I really fucking hate this song. Yeah.
What is up, guys? It is Robert at Gaming with Me, and welcome to Back at the Backlog, the series where we take a look at the games that I recently beat off my backlog. Today's episode is on the game Far Cry 2. Far Cry is a franchise that I actually have a pretty decent history with. I started with 2012's Far Cry 3 on Xbox 360, loved the idea of an open world on an island, although I never did finish it. I also own Far Cry Instincts, Far Cry 4, Far Cry 5, and Far Cry 6. We will check out almost all of these one day. Funny enough, I actually started playing Far Cry 6 while playing through 2, which the odds of that happening are like less than a 1% chance. It's actually crazy, but it definitely makes for a very unique comparison experience. Far Cry 2 was released on October 21st, 2008 in the US. It was developed by Ubisoft Montreal and published by Ubisoft. Far Cry 1 and 2 came before the game that really propelled the series, which was 3. So I personally never really hear people bring up the first two as they are very overshadowed by the later entries. Does Far Cry 2 deserve to be brought up more? Well, here we are 16 years after its original release. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the story first. A civil war rages on between two factions of an unnamed African nation, the UFLL and the APR. Both are horrible to the civilians, and in the middle is a man named the Jackal, giving weapons to both sides for low prices, increasing the conflicts among the factions. Your character is a mercenary, and your job is to get in there and kill the Jackal and hope the factions can come to a peaceful conclusion. As the intro begins, your character gets malaria and wakes up in a bed with the Jackal confronting your character. The Jackal says you failed and that the men we work for don't seem to get it. He can't be killed. Your character then takes up jobs with both the UFLL and the APR and hopes to get closer to the Jackal to prove him wrong and kill him. It's a pretty good intro. It's pretty unique for video games, and I do actually like this villain. The Jackal starts the tradition of memorable villains that Far Cry is known for, although I suppose the original might have had a memorable villain. I'll know one day. Right off the bat, visually this game is pretty good in terms of foliage and the amount of it in this environment. However, it can also look pretty drab with its very muted color palette, especially since Far Cry as a franchise I feel has a very bright color palette compared to other first-person shooters. Far Cry 2's color palette mixes in with a lot of the shooters of that era. It's still pretty good and impressive on the Xbox 360 in 2008, but yeah, pretty flat in terms of colors. The environment overall is unique for video games. The only other game that takes place entirely in Africa that I could think of off the top of my head is Wild Earth African Safari for the Wii. What, you never heard of this game? We'll talk about it one day. I really enjoyed Far Cry 2's environment, the pure safari aspect of it with wild animals running around such as zebras, which was awesome to see. The only problem is I can't see enough of this environment as it's a deadly ass world. It's a big world, bigger than I thought, that at some point throughout the game it takes you to a new area expanding this already big world. The main gameplay loop is taking up a job for one of the factions and going to a location to blow up something or kill someone. It's repetitive in design, but the overall loop is fun. As long as you have a fun world and some solid gunplay, it'll make for a fun game if that's the mission structure. While yes, it is a cool world and has some solid gunplay, it's not a fun world for a lot of the time. This is because besides some super small points on the map, everyone is out to kill you, and you likely won't even drive a minute in this world without some car to stop you, to shoot at you, or an outpost that you essentially have to pass by all the time is filled with guys that want to kill you. I get it. It's an all-out war in this region, but like, come on, there's no questions asked. There's no bribes I pull, maybe give some diamonds or something, as diamonds are the currency there. Maybe they tell me to fuck off or they'll shoot so I have a limited amount of time to drive away. Something, but instead, literally every single person automatically shoots you on sight and will follow you to kill you. Not only that, but they have some of the best aim ever, which is straight up bullshit. Even when you take out an enemy outpost, they will respawn, making it pointless to take out an enemy outpost. There's no real progress on the map, and if there was, it would have made the world a lot more fun to explore because I could actually explore it. Instead, I constantly would fast travel to one of the 5 bus stations in the region, and even then, most bus stations can be far out, making your travel an all-out war every single time. While some people may like that, I view it as a negative and a frustration, making you now want to explore this cool open world, and with the amount of mountains you can't climb, it feels more linear than open anyway, making these long roads you are forced on essentially padding, as you'll have to constantly stop to take out enemies or outposts that you already took out before. The respawning is so bad that just entering and leaving a building will respawn several enemies. It feels like a severe oversight in what is supposed to be an open world where you supposedly go anywhere or do anything. Honestly, the journey to missions are missions within themselves because of this. One person is alarmed and everyone instantly knows your position. I mean, these enemies are so aggressive that I completed a mission indoors, had a conversation with an NPC, saved, and when I stepped out, I got jump scared by an enemy waiting for me at the goddamn door, immediately shooting. Like, goddamn! Time has passed and they're still on my ass, but man, right at the door? I never thought I'd get jump scared in goddamn Far Cry 2 of all games. The game would just be a lot better with a less chaotic world. I love the setting and slowly moving around in the grass trying to stealth my way around, but the game just isn't built for stealth. The enemy AI just knows where you are. They'll shoot you with incredible accuracy while hiding in bushes, behind hills, buildings, trees. It does not matter. Once one even sees a pixel in your head, it's over. Every single person somehow knows your location, and that's just not good for stealth. I know it's technically possible to do stealth, but it really just isn't built for it. A lot of the enemies are also constantly moving in shootouts, which reminded me a bit of Perfect Dark Zero, and if you've seen that episode, you know how much I couldn't stand that game, but it was a lot more fun in Far Cry 2. I actually do think this is a good game overall, even if that part reminds me of that horror.
Luckily, I wasn't there for that game.
Yeah, that was just perfect timing for you.
You missed out on the horrible Jonathan.
At least there's no Jonathan in Far Cry 2.
Like I said, it's just that one thing that reminds me of it, but I would not dare compare it to that. Shootouts can become overwhelming sometimes, but for the most part it's still fun to use your variety of weapons on you to take out these dudes. You can purchase a large amount of weapons throughout the game with the diamonds you accumulate, ranging from snipers to assault rifles to rocket launchers. One of my most used weapons in the game was the turret on these assault trucks. Considering you'll be stopped in all sorts of ways, I was always prepared while driving to switch to the turret and mow down whoever was in the way, which was typically another assault truck. That was my way of dealing with the murderous world, and it definitely helped a ton. The weapons you use won't last forever though, as weapons will degrade over time to the point where they'll explode in your hand after a decent chunk of time. This had me constantly changing weapons, which I thought was a pretty cool mechanic that had me on my toes. While the gun shops around had brand new weapons, the enemy weapons you pick up are essentially always rusty and jamming up. Yes, the big death to used weapons are not that they will eventually get destroyed, but them jamming is the biggest problem. When a gun gets jammed, you'll have to press X a few times to unjam it. It's also a cool mechanic in its war-torn world where everything is worn out. However, I do think it happens a tad bit too often, although there could have been times where I just used the weapon a little longer than intended. Gunfights can evolve into pure chaos with this game's very impressive physics system. Far Cry 2 does many things that later entries don't even do, like the way fire can absolutely take over an area, really spreading wide, scrambling to stay away while still trying to complete your mission. Explosives are menacing, flipping over cars, destroying trees, and a lot of things in the environment can take damage or be shot through like typical metal plates and cause at least some damage to whoever is on the other side. Shooting someone in the foot will help enemies limp away as they grab their sidearm to hopefully take you out. There's so much attention to detail that makes this world feel very alive and incredibly dangerous. The game constantly wants you to be on guard and wants you to know you are never safe, and it does create this atmosphere perfectly, but it will definitely be up to the player if they find that enjoyable. Like I said, I personally don't love the constant danger, and I do think there was a better way of handling it, but I do think it's very unique and can see why other people would absolutely love it. What I don't love are the aiming controls. The turning when aiming is the worst kind, where when you move the analog stick to a certain degree, it'll move slower than speed up instead of just a constant speed. That's something even Cyberpunk 2077 from 2020 did, and I didn't like it there. It's something you just gotta get used to, which I did, but it's always a bizarre design choice to me whenever I encounter it in a game, which is rarely for a good reason.
I'm sure on PC that's not a problem.
Yeah, I mean, if you're playing it with mouse and keyboard, technically it wouldn't be a problem.
That's why you should play with a mouse and keyboard.
Did you?
No.
Then shut the fuck up. The camera in general can get a bit chaotic while driving or moving while trying to see the map. A really cool thing is the map is physically on you to pull out, freeing some HUD space and a neat way to access the map. However, you really do have to stand still for a moment to see the map fully in view where you were heading, admittedly kinda defeating the purpose of not pausing to see the map. Although I think they wanted you to have the map physically on you so you can have more immersion in the world, or even more danger, as you can't pause your way to find an escape route or something if you were in danger. Either way, it's a good way of having the map, just could have been implemented better. Another very unique thing in Far Cry 2 is the whole you have malaria thing, because yes, you do indeed need to get medicine to treat the disease. You'll have to go to certain locations to collect medicine, which you'll take when you end up getting random attacks. This worried me at first because it felt like it could have been absolutely an inconvenience and a headache to deal with, but luckily it's just not often enough to cause an annoyance. I don't love it, but I don't dislike it. It's just something you do. I never actually passed out from it, as I always had medicine on me. I just collect some on my way to a mission if I needed some, and it really only happens when you're doing main missions. As for healing yourself up in general, the Far Cry franchise has some of the best healing animations in gaming to me, and Far Cry 2 is no exception. Pulling out bullets, cracking your hand to fix it, it's hilariously over the top, and I will always enjoy seeing them, even if that means I'm getting stomped on by enemies at the moment. Which, mind you, even if you do die, there's a chance it's not completely over, even though for me it basically was. That's because throughout the game you'll run into several characters that you'll become buddies with. These buddies, if you request for their help, can rescue you when you die, healing you up and shoot alongside you in the mission. It's pretty damn cool and really surprised me the first time it happened. If you aren't careful though, they themselves can die if they take too much damage and if you don't go and heal them up. Once a buddy dies, they are permanently gone from your game. It's a great idea that I also admittedly just didn't use too much. I would like it if they just came with you the whole time like a party system of sorts, as that would actually probably help out with the outpost, but it's still a good concept overall. I like the idea of the story of Far Cry 2, but it admittedly lost me rather quickly for one reason that really could have been avoided. For some reason, essentially every character talks so damn fast with like no pauses to breathe, and because of this, I couldn't understand or grasp a lot of the conversations. I thought it was just me, but it turns out pretty much everyone I've seen online agrees that they talk strangely too fast with no emotion. The biggest fault is the poor mixing. The sound effects and music drown out the voices, making subtitles a must, which I didn't turn on until a little more than halfway through for some reason.
And you've brought travel papers. You can deliver them yourself.
Yes, please, sir. Welcome. You are sick. We help you. We have medicine. You have papers? It is for these little ones we do all this. Godspeed.
And when you do read the subtitles, it really just is, man, kill this one guy, I hate him, or blow this one pipe up, fuck him up. I do genuinely like the Jackal though, as he's the real story of the game, which I'm now going to talk about the final few missions just to let you know. As the game progresses and as you find out more about the Jackal, you eventually end up teaming up with him. Yes, because while your whole mission was to kill him, he's actually just trying to distract the two factions to help the civilians escape this nation. Yeah, it turns out the Jackal is a good guy, or maybe not a good guy, but at least a fucked up sadistic person who wants to end this war, which is a good thing. The last area in the game becomes a linear level design, and I honestly wish the whole game was like this, as it plays a lot better without the respawning pure carnage headache when driving around. You take out enemies, you hide behind cover, and you progress. All while including another safe zone with people to assassinate and other branching paths, so it just removes the constant onslaught, which is definitely a positive. At one point you collect a diamond briefcase from a buddy of yours, but as soon as you collect it you hear a "fuck you," and all the enemies you met over the journey that are still alive turn on you to kill you. It further cements how far gone everyone in this nation is. Everyone is just evil and wants to kill each other, betraying each other over anything. Probably the toughest shootout, as they have you surrounded with very little room to hide. It's brutal, it's frustrating, but it's also a cool moment.
I made sure all my buddies were dead before this. I wanted a lone wolf atmosphere, so I only had to verse one other person.
Oh, wow, okay. I didn't know you could do that.
I actually kept all 11 of my buddies. Yes, 11. Let's just say I hated that part.
Damn. Yeah, no, 11, that doesn't sound fun at all. Finally, you end up meeting with the Jackal and he tells his plan. The idea is one of us is to bribe the border control with the diamonds to let all the civilians pass, while the other blows up this cliff, blocking the soldiers from getting to the civilians. However, the person that blows up the cliff will die. Yeah, either the Jackal or your character will die. Or should I say both, because the Jackal says after giving the briefcase and making sure the civilians pass, then that person will kill themselves. Why? Well, the Jackal says it the best.
When the handoff's complete, that guy, you or me, is gonna put a bullet into his own head. I'd do both jobs myself, but there's not enough time. The only way this is gonna work is if we see it the whole way through to the end. Every cell of this cancer has to be destroyed. That includes you and me. If we don't finish this and the whole mission has been a waste, a farce, it'll start up again just like it always does.
Damn, dude's insane, but wiping out literally every single person in this war would essentially stop the war. Or at least you'd hope. I actually did both endings as you could choose. The only difference is the path, but the final cutscene is the same. The cliff is blown up as it pans out to show the civilians moving out. Then some text pops up saying, over 2 million refugees were displaced to neighboring countries. The remaining leadership of the APR and the UFLL united to form an interim government in an effort to impose order on the fractured country. They failed. Anarchy rules to this day. And as for the Jackal, his body has never been found. Although considering the identity of the Jackal remains a mystery, it will always be a mystery as we know he is dead. Well, damn, the civilians are saved, but the country is still a war-torn nation. Like Fallout says, war never changes. Then the credits roll. I actually quite like this ending. It is also pretty dark as both you and the Jackal die, although there's several cool theories out there about the Jackal still being alive and how it contributes to future games, but regardless, I'd be surprised if he didn't die. I like the multiple endings are generally either heading to the cliff or to the border, and I like this dark, depressing, war-filled atmosphere that continues all the way to the credits. I thought that was really great. That was Far Cry 2. That was a good game. It's one that could have been a really great game, but the constant aggression everywhere you go definitely brings that down for me. But when you are in the missions, shooting around while all very similar in what you were doing is enjoyable. The villain of the Jackal and the twist of working together was great. I enjoyed the final section a lot. There's a ton of great environmental physics and interesting systems like buddies, guns degrading, and it takes place in a cool world. I just wish I got to enjoy the world aspect a lot more. Far Cry 2 is a game that takes place in a war-torn, horrible world, and it works in that way, but for me, it can make it frustrating to navigate. But I can't knock that as a negative, as it's not bad, it's just not my preference. I definitely give them a lot of props for experimenting with this game, as it does a ton of things developers would just never do nowadays, for better or worse. It'll definitely vary for people. Overall, I'm going to give Far Cry 2 a second best African Safari game after Wild Earth African Safari out of 10. That was a good game. I could definitely see why it's a favorite for many people. I would be surprised if this was at the top of my list after playing other Far Cry games though. What's the next Far Cry game we'll be checking out? Only time will tell. Who knows? That'll be for today. Real quick, did you know that this is the 50th Back of the Backlog episode? Crazy, I can't believe it. I look forward to making another 50. 50. Thank you so much for watching any of these. I just means the world. Have you played Far Cry 2? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Let me know down in the comments below, and I'll see you all next time. Far Cry 2 was a good game with a way too aggressive world, but it is officially out of the backlog.
Drucker told me about the trip and sent me there in a private helicopter.
Private helicopter? How the hell could he afford that?
He used some of the show's budget, apparently.
That motherfucker. No wonder we didn't have catering for the rest of the season.
Anyway, almost as soon as I landed, some men with guns came to me and told me to come with them or get shot.
Oh my, what? Dudes were gonna shoot you?
Oh no, they weren't gonna. They were because I started running.
You know how to run.
Of course I know how to run.
I'm surprised myself. I've never even seen you walk.
You gonna let me continue?
Sorry.
Anyway, I ran far, confused at where I was at, until I managed to find this one guy who explained this whole island. He told me everything about the Klozanka Peninsula and who these guys were. Apparently, this island is run by a whole cartel who are leaders in every illegal market in the world. Drugs, guns, trafficking, assassinations, you name it, they do it. They live so secretly that the island isn't on any map anywhere. They're ghosts in this world. They're trained to shoot on sight to anyone they don't recognize coming onto the island.
Why would Drucker even know about this place? Why would he send you somewhere to get killed? Why does he still even work for us?
Well, you know, I like to give people the benefit of the doubt.
Do you even hear your own story?
Yes, I don't think you do because you keep interrupting my damn story. Anyway, so the guy tells me that he works there against his own will. He then tells me the key to ending this horrible island, and that's a bomb that they have.
A bomb? Why?
Shut the fuck up and I'll explain it.
Alright, yes, you're right.
They're to use this bomb if any danger were to happen to their operation. If some country finds them and tries to invade them, they'll use that bomb on that country the same day. And they have many bombs just in case. This bomb is so powerful, it makes every other drop before seem small in comparison. It's fucked. Well, his idea was to drop the bomb on Klozanka itself, destroying everything and leaving nothing behind as we fly away to safety in a jet. Well, using my endless another dimension pocket, we snuck inside one of the facilities and stole a bomb and flew high in a plane as he works on the fighter planes there. As we began the plane, a bunch of soldiers started shooting at us, and unfortunately, took out my new friend. He told me to keep going and to end this nightmare. I luckily managed to fly and escape. High above Klozanka, I thought about the death and destruction it caused. A tear shed from my face, and I dropped the bomb. And well, I've never seen anything like it. An explosion so powerful, it's like the island never existed. Everything was gone. The ocean took back its land. The world became a lot safer. Klozanka Peninsula no longer exists.
Holy shit. How have you never told us this?
Slipped my mind to be honest with you.
You destroyed a whole island. How could you forget something like that?
I didn't forget, I just told you.
Okay, that's great and all, but why is it called Peninsula if it's an island?
That's what you're stuck on? Who cares? It's just a name. Regardless, I did bring back something from that island. See, they made money off everything, and one of their sectors was reselling video games. So before I left, I took a copy of a game that I think we'd all want to check out.
Damn, really? These dudes are making money on anything then.
Yeah, apparently one of the cartel dudes sold that $1.5 million copy of Super Mario 64 sale and thought it would be legit their next big money-making scheme.
Yeah, it's pretty dumb. What was the game you picked up then?
It was this.